All right. Hi, good evening, Karen. How are you today? Is everything okay?
Hi, teacher. Good evening. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. And you?
Great. That's great. I'm fine as well, Karen. Thank you. So today we're going to work with something different. This is going to be listening. All right. And just listening. I'm going to show you these type of exercises because these are the ones that are going to help you develop your listening even more. So these are lectures. All right. This is going to be a lecture in economics. So it means you're going to be listening to a lot of, economics related words. Perhaps, and I know that many of these words are not going to be that clear or they are new, but we have to try to understand as much as we can. All right, the introduction is going to be just the first 38 to, I believe, 40 seconds maximum. So let's try to pay attention to everything, please, Karen. Try to take notes, and I'm going to ask you some questions afterwards, and I'm going to play it 2 times. All right, so let's listen, please, to the first part.
Okay.
In an economics course. The professor is talking about micro-enterprises.
An enduring problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
Okay, that's the introduction. Again, I'm just cutting that out because even everything is connected, right? It's not a real introduction, but it's the part that we're going to analyze first. I am going to play it again. This is the main topic, right? This is an economics class, and it's about micro enterprises. So you need to more or less give me the idea of what is the elements or what are the elements that they are discussing in the first part, and try to recognize words that are related to this field. All right, so I'm going to play it once again. Here we go.
Economics course. The professor is talking about micro-enterprises.
An enduring problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower. This arrangement.
All right, so let's see what we get after that part. First, let's try to work in only a summary of everything that you got, Karen. What can you tell me about this first part of the lecture?
The name of the topic is microenterprises, and then it starts with a problem maybe with the countries that are still develop, and talk about that the need of capital, the need of money, to start new business, and talk about that we use informal money. I don't know is the correct word to do a lot of business, but this issue generates it generates the increase of, I don't know if the net involved. I don't know if it's correct.
Good, great. I think we have a lot of the ideas over there. That's great, Karen. Just few details with the word, for example, the last one that we're going to see now. All right. So I'm going to ask you those questions to try to understand those words even better, but I think it was great. Now, for example, what do you think is the difference between developing countries with ing and developed countries with ed? What do you think is the difference between those two, developing and developed? And which one do you think is Bolivia? And which one do you think is the United States?
What is the difference between developing and developed?
Exactly, developing countries and developed countries.
I know that one is when a country is in a good position, like the United States, and the other is when the country like Bolivia, like is in the beginning and is start. But I don't know which one is, I don't know, developed country? Maybe it's the United States.
Yeah, and actually, yes, imagine, just make this analogy. If you say I'm married, it means that you are married. If you say I'm marrying someone next week, it means that you are not married yet, that you're going to get married next week, right? So if you have ed, it means it's done. If you have ing, it means it's in process, right? That logic is going to apply to everything. So yes, Bolivia is going to be possibly a developing country, and the United States is a developed country. So what do you think they are talking here about here? Developing countries or developed countries? Remember that this is an issue in economics and micro enterprises.
Developing.
Yes, correct. It's going to be, and it is about developing countries. But actually, it's not about the country itself. It's people that live in this country. So how do you call, and this is the name that they mentioned here, what is the name, or how do you call to the person that wants to start a new business using their own money?
I don't know.
Let's try to listen. I'm going to play that part. Let me look for it very, very shortly.
To borrow money from informal money lending capital to start and in developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal money lending.
Okay, now I'm going to go a little bit before, because they mentioned this word one more time, but I believe that the first part is at the very beginning.
An enduring problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in
Okay, yes, there is the one. I'm going to play it one more time, and one of those words refers to that name.
problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in
So what word do you think refers to the thing I told you, Karen?
Entrepreneurs.
Yes, entrepreneurs. That's correct. So this lecture, it's actually going to be about entrepreneurs, small scale entrepreneurs, people who want to start their own business, but they need capital, right? They need capital to start the business and to run the business. So what do? They borrow money from informal money lenders. Okay, and what is a money lender? Is the person, or I don't know, right, a place that is going to lend you money, that is going to give you the money. But what is negative about that? Actually, they are going to say something interesting. All right, so pay attention, and you're going to try to identify what is negative about informal money lenders and why entrepreneurs shouldn't borrow money from money lenders.
Developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal money lenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates.
The main idea is there. I'm going to play it one more time and try to get what's negative about borrowing money from informal money lenders. Okay, it's like something that it's implicit, but is there.
From informal money lenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal money lenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates.
Okay, so let's pay attention to the last part. What can you hear that he's saying in this part, Gary?
Exorbitant. I don't know how to pronounce the second word.
A good idea, and this is also a good practice. Try to just imitate. Don't try to look for the word, because if it's a new word, you're not going to find it. Try just to imitate the sound. All right, imitate the last three words.
Exorbitant interest rates, and who often attach exorbitant interest rates, often attach exorbitant interest rates, often attach exorbitant interest rates.
So let's repeat, please. What do you get over there?
Exorbitant interesting.
Interest and rates. Okay, exorbitant, something exorbitant, big. Interest rates, it means the percentage of interest that you pay when you borrow money,
Rates.
right? So it means that these informal money lenders, they are going to attach very big, very high interest rates. And of course, that's going to be negative for the entrepreneur. So let's see, or let's listen what he says afterwards.
And thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
Right? And it reduces what? That's another word, the net income. Right? So borrowing money from informal money lenders, a consequence for that, it's going to be losing and reducing the net income that you have, because what you're going to be receiving in your business is going to go to pay interest, right, for the money lender. So let me show you those words, all right? Here we have net income, right? The net income, that's what you receive, right? La entrada neta, the net income. The borrower, you are the borrower. If you borrow money, for example, if you go to the bank and you borrow money, you are the borrower, right? So you are a borrower, being an entrepreneur. This is exorbitant. This is the interest rates, right? The percentage of interest that is very high. Then you have here the informal money lenders, right? My computer got frozen, but informal money lenders, right? And at the beginning, the words that I told you, developing countries, that are the countries that are starting to grow. But let me know, please, if you have any questions up to this part, Karen. The idea here again is try to get these words and try to make this lecture accessible and understandable. So what do you say?
Teacher, how write the word entrepreneur?
Okay, perfect. Yes, let me show you. Also, I'm going to show you here. It has an A and a U because this comes from French. All right. And there you go. And you pronounce it like entrepreneurs. Okay, so entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you.
Good. There you go. No, you're welcome. So I know we're over time, but we're going to try to listen to an extra part. We're not going to analyze that in detail because of the time, Karen, but try to get as much as you can. All right. We're not going to discuss it in detail, just as an introduction, and we're going to continue in the next conversation. Okay, so let's just listen to have like an idea of what's next.
This arrangement can trap a small-scale entrepreneur in a cycle of debt from which it is impossible to escape. An initiative pioneered in Bangladesh in 1983 by the Grameen Bank is an attempt to remedy the situation. The goal of this initiative was to help poor people escape from poverty by allowing them to borrow small amounts of money at reasonable interest rates without the necessity of providing collateral.
Okay, that's the first time. Let me play it please one more time. The idea again is try to complement and try to connect the previous idea with this possible solution or illustration that he is giving.
Can trap a small income of the interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower. This arrangement can trap a small-scale entrepreneur in a cycle of debt from which it is impossible to escape. An initiative pioneered in Bangladesh in 1983 by the Grameen Bank is an attempt to remedy the situation. The goal of this initiative was to help poor people escape from poverty by allowing them to borrow small amounts of money at reasonable interest rates without the necessity of providing collateral.
So again, because of the time, we cannot see this in depth, but let's try to work on a short summary. What were you able to get from this part,
Well, talk about the consequence to borrow money by the money lenders, and then talk about it's talk about an initiative of Grameen Bank that borrow money to poor people to help them, well, to help them to do something with reasonable interest, so they can escape from the money lenders.
Very good. Great. I think it is very good. I have just two observations, little details. Remember that the banks or that bank is not going to borrow, right? Because the one who borrows is the person, right? So the bank lends, right? So the bank lends the money and the people are the borrowers, right? So good, but the idea is great. And also the word, you were right at the beginning, it's going to be reasonable. Okay, reasonable interest rates. All right, reasonable interest rates. That's it, because everything else I think was very well explained, Karen. So I don't know if you have any questions. Again, we're going to listen to that one more time to see specific words. But do you have any questions before finishing today? Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Good. There you go. So as always, please, let's fill out the survey for this conversation. You have it over there. Thanks again for being here. I hope you have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow for the class, Karen.
Thank you, teacher. Have a good night too. See you
Thank
tomorrow.
you. Bye-bye. All right, now I'm with you. I see the name iPhone, but I think it's you, right, Nazarena? Let me know, please.
Yes, teacher, I will change my name, sorry.
All right, don't worry. So good, Nazarena, today we're going to be practicing some, well, listening actually, and of course speaking as we're doing it. And again, you know the idea. We've worked with you in this way before. I'm going to play the first seconds, only the first 40 seconds. You listen to those, well, seconds over there, and you're going to try to give me a summary. And after giving me the summary, I'm going to try to ask you specific questions. All right, let me know, please, if you are ready.
Okay, teacher. Perfect.
Good, very good. So let's also, if you can take notes, let's do it, because here are many words only related to economics, and it's important to understand it. So here we go. I'm going to play it 2 times. This is the first time.
In an economics course, the professor is talking about micro-enterprises.
An enduring problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
Okay, so that's the first one. I am going to play it one more time. Again, the idea is to have general knowledge of what this person is giving to us and to try to understand the words that he's using. All right, so this is the second time. Here we go.
In an economics course, the professor is talking about micro-enterprises.
An enduring problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower. This arrangement.
All right, so up to that part, Nazarena, what summary can you, well, prepare by listening to that? What can you tell me about it?
Okay. Talk about micro enterprises and about entrepreneurs that maybe have a new little company or maybe startup or something like that, and they don't have the capital to run with the business, so they try to borrow money or have money of some place, maybe illegal money to run with the business, but that can be also a problem with the incomes.
Okay, good, very good. I think the main idea is over there. It's just one detail related to this one. It can be illegal, you're right, but mainly informal. But yes, sometimes the informal things can be illegal in this case, or sometimes they cannot be like regulated, and that can have consequences, right? But let's try to get this detail, please, Nazarene. I'm going to play it one more time and try to tell me this information. It's not going to be everything, just the last part. Try to tell me where these entrepreneurs are getting the money from. Okay, tell me where these entrepreneurs are getting the money from, and try to tell me what's the problem with those places or with those people who give money to the entrepreneurs. All right, just that part. I'm going to play this one, please. At 1 or 2 times, I'm going to see, and let's try to answer that.
A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower. Route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
All right, so what can you tell me about that? Because actually that's going to be the main problem and difficulty for entrepreneurs. So who or where are they getting the money from? And what is the characteristic of that process? And why there's a bad result because of that? What do you say?
Okay. I didn't understand too much, but the first thing is that they borrow money of informal money of leaners. I don't know what is that. Lenders, I think. Later, this can be a problem for borrow and have good incomes.
Yes, and that word is correct. I'm going to help you out with that one. It's money lenders, right? Who are money lenders? Money lenders are people who lend you money, right? So, Nazarena, if you need money, I'm a money lender. So I'm going to give you the money that you need, but you need to pay me back with a very good interest. All right. And actually, the problem is there that these are informal money lenders. Usually, you borrow money from the bank, but these modern money lenders are not the bank. Those are other people or other institutions that lend you money. All right. That's why, again, money lenders. But what is the big problem? I'm going to play just a little part and I'm going to tell you.
Exorbitant interest rates.
Okay. Exorbitant interest rates. So what do you think he's saying by those three words, Nazarena? Exorbitant interest rates. And it's related to the money lenders. What is that?
Maybe that are higher rates, interest rates.
Exactly, right? The rates of the interest are very high. So it means if I give you now $5,000, it means that in a certain time you have to give me, I don't know, 6,000. Okay, I'm just playing with those numbers. But the idea is that if you are going to pay that back with very high interest rates, then it's going to be negative for you, right? And why? The consequence is here.
And thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
Right? So it reduces the net income of the borrower. So you are the borrower because you are borrowing money from me and I'm lending money to you. So if I give you that with high interest rates, it means that you're not going to be able to have good income because you need to pay me back. You need to pay your interest, and it's not going to be good for you as an entrepreneur. All right, so let me show you those words and you're going to tell me if you have questions. Net income, right? How much money you are receiving in net. Borrower is the person that borrows the money. And remember, borrower is the one that receives the money. If I borrow money, it means I receive the money from someone. All right, I'm borrowing money. Then you have this one, exorbitant interest rates. All right, the rates of the interest when they are very high. The word that you were telling me is informal money lenders. Okay, money lenders, again, a lender is a person that gives the money. A borrower is a person that receives the money. All right, and finally, That's good. No, I think the last one, well, this is a very interesting verb, to run a business, right? It means you are in charge of the business, the capital that you have to obtain, and the word entrepreneurs that you got it very well. So those are important words to know in this part, Nazarena. I don't know if you have any questions to go to the next part.
Oh no, teacher, thank you so much. I
Good.
understand now.
Great, it's good. So we have 3 minutes. Let's go to the next part, Nazarena. You have to connect this idea with the next one, all right? They are going to explain a possible solution for that problem. And also what is a consequence, a bigger consequence of borrowing money, from informal money lenders. So here's the next part.
Of the borrower. This arrangement can trap a small-scale entrepreneur in a cycle of debt from which it is impossible to escape. An initiative pioneered in Bangladesh in 1983 by the Grameen Bank is an attempt to remedy this situation. The goal of this initiative was to help poor people escape from poverty by allowing them to borrow small amounts of money at reasonable interest rates without the necessity of providing collateral.
Good. So I'm going to play it once again, and you're going to try to give me one more time a short summary. This is the continuation of what we heard. And here again, he's talking about a big consequence and an interesting solution or initiative.
Reduce the net income of the borrower. This arrangement can trap a small-scale entrepreneur in a cycle of debt from which it is impossible to escape. An initiative pioneered in Bangladesh in 1983 by the Grameen Bank is an attempt to remedy this situation. The goal of this initiative was to help poor people escape from poverty by allowing them to borrow small amounts of money at reasonable interest rates without the necessity of providing collateral.
Right, so that's it. What can you tell me about this next part, Nazarena?
Okay. Well, this was very bad for the people who made business. So they made an example that in 1983 they saw this kind of problem, and a bank remedied this problem. Doing a lead to the people with small amounts of money and also with a reasonable rates. So that was very good for the new entrepreneurs.
Okay, great. Very good. Just that word, remember, it's going to be reasonable, right? Reasonable interest rates. Let's repeat those 3 words, please, Nazarena. Reasonable interest rates.
Reasonable
Interest
rates.
rates, correct. Very good. Good. So it was great. It was very well explained, Nazarena. I just have one question, because at the beginning you said something and it was great. But if I ask you this, what is the answer? What is the biggest negative consequence of borrowing money from these money lenders who give you a high interest rate? What is the biggest negative consequence?
Okay, the biggest consequence is that they never have good incomes because they have to pay the high interest rates.
Very good, great. And that's one. And there is another one actually that develops from that. And it's here. I'm going to play just that part. It's very short. You're right. But that produces another thing that it's even worse. So let's listen. It's just a few seconds.
Entrepreneur in a cycle of debt from which entrepreneur in a cycle of debt. This arrangement can trap a small-scale entrepreneur in a cycle of debt.
All right. So the answer is that. What do you hear over there in Nazarena?
That they can scale.
But if you get to the words, the cycle of what is the word that is he using after that? Cycle of what? I don't know if you got that word.
Of that.
Close. It's going to be with E, so it sounds like a
That.
debt.
That.
Exactly. And what is a cycle of debt to finish, Nazarena?
That the basically maybe that the business die.
But actually, that's a similar word. I know, but actually, it's not that word. When we say debt, it refers to debt with B and T. Okay, I'm going to show you this one over here, this one over here, debt. All right, but they pronounce that like debt only, debt. All right, but what is this? What is the cycle of debt? D-E-B-T.
Debt. Okay, that they have to pay to the lenders, and they will always have debt to pay, and maybe don't have incomes.
Exactly, and they are never going to be financially independent, right? They are always going to depend on someone else to give them the money because they need more and more with high interest rates, and they cannot produce something right by themselves. And yes, that is the most negative thing that it can happen, right? That's why the bank that they talked about is giving an interesting solution. Okay, but that's it on my side. I don't know if you have any questions, Nazarena, before finishing today. We're going to continue looking at those words in the next conversation. That again, if you remember, it's going to be next week because this Thursday we don't have one. But let me know, please, do you have any questions?
No, teacher. All is clear. Thank you so much.
Great. No, you're welcome. I hope that
It's
those words...
rates, right? Increase rates?
Rates, exactly. Like okay. I am going to write it in the chat just in case. Rates.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Good. So as always, please, Nazarena, the survey is down below. Let me know when you can complete that, and then it's it for today.
I think that I already made.
All right, yes, because here it was just Karen and you were after Karen, right? So yes, it's the two of you. You did it, Nazarena.
Okay.
Have a good night tomorrow.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, now I'm going to work with you, Micaela. Good evening. How do you feel today, Micaela? Can you hear me? I cannot hear you, Micaela. I heard a sound, but your microphone is off. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hello, teacher. I am. I have the flu, but I think my voice is a little bit well. Sorry.
Don't worry, Michaela. So, are you okay to work with me today? Do you have the possibility to work with this conversation?
Of course, teacher. Don't worry.
Okay, good. So, as you can see, this can be interesting for you, Michaela, because this is about economics and it's about micro enterprises. All right, here we're going to take a look at a lot of vocabulary related to this field, also to finance, right? As you were able to hear perhaps with Nazarena. So let's take a listen, please. This is listening, only listening. I'm going to play the first 30 to 40 seconds. You need to pay close attention. You need to take notes because I'm going to play it 2 times and you have to explain everything about those first seconds. All right, so let's pay attention, please, Mikael.
A lecture given in an economics course. The professor is talking about micro enterprises.
An enduring problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
Okay, that's the introduction. It is very short. I am going to play it once again, and the idea is to see if everything is going to be clear to go to the next part because it's going to be the most important one. So let's listen to this one more time, please.
The professor is talking about micro-enterprises.
An enduring problem facing small-scale entrepreneurs in developing countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
So that's it. Let's first try to give a summary, please, Michaela. What can you tell me about this part of the lecture?
Okay. Well, the the topic is um, to develop a micro enterprise. They are talking about some people don't have the skills to get capital money for banks, so they need a informal um, like informal business to get capital.
Okay, good. So we're close. Some details are a little bit different. We're going to take a look at that now. In general, it's very good. But I'm going to ask you actually some questions to complement that one. For example, how do you call to the person who wants to start a business by themselves and wants to do it again using their own money? What is that name that you use in English for that?
Micro entrepreneurship. Sorry, I cannot pronounce.
All right, don't worry. Yes, here we're talking about micro enterprises, but it's going to be a little bit different, right? It's only going to be an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneur. And we're talking about specific types of entrepreneurs. We're talking about small scale entrepreneurs. Okay, so entrepreneurs who want to start a small business, and to do that, right, they need capital, right? They need capital to do it. So you were talking about skills. That is correct because it involves skills, right, to do it. But more than that one, and I believe that it's also included, is that they don't have the money, right, to do it. So what do? You were talking about to have informal businesses, right? It can be the case, but here actually they don't mention that. They mention something informal, but it's not the business that they have. The informal part is on where they are going to get the money from. All right, so let's try to listen one more time, please, to that specific part. And you're going to tell me what these entrepreneurs do to get the money and what is the negative side of getting the money from those people or from those institutions. All right, let's listen to this part, please. It's the same. We're just going to try to get those words.
Countries has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower. Has been the difficulty in obtaining capital to start and run a business. A traditional route has been to borrow money from informal moneylenders who often attach exorbitant interest rates and thus reduce the net income of the borrower.
All right, so that's the idea. What can you tell me about that, Mikaela?
Money lender. I forgot the word. Is money informal money lender, and the negative part is high interest.
Exactly, very good. So they borrow money from money lenders who have very high interest rates, right? Interest rates, correct. And also there's a consequence of that. What is the other consequence of lending or sorry, borrowing money from them, Miguel? It's mentioned after that. After they mentioned the exorbitant interest rates, they said something else. I don't know if you were able to get the last idea.
Uh, 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 the last word I don't know the last word, but because the context, I understand that it's like they cannot like do like do own capital because
Okay.
the interests are so high.
Okay, good. Yes, actually, the thing that he says at the end, it related to that. And then a specific thing I'm going to show you now, okay, you're going to see the captions, is that you have a reduction in the net income. All right, and that's on the borrower sides, right? Why? Because if you are the one borrowing the money and you have someone or something giving you that money, but it has exorbitant, very, very high interest rates, right? Of course, that's going to have also a negative effect on you. And in this case, in this lecture at least, they are talking about the reduction of the net income for the borrowers. All right, so let's take a look at those words one more time. Here you have net income, you have borrower, you have exorbitant interest rates. That's a very interesting way to mention that idea. Informal money lenders, right? You can only call them lenders, but of course we have to clarify that they lend money. So money lenders. Then you have here the traditional route. It means the way these entrepreneurs use to start or run a business, right? And as they don't have the capital, they have to look for different alternatives. But that's a bad idea, as they are saying here. And this is the word, right? Entrepreneurs, but not any type of entrepreneurs. It is going to be a very specific type that is going to be, as I told you, the small scale entrepreneurs, right? The ones who are going to start a small business, but they need capital to start. All right, so those are important words over there, Michaela. I don't know if you have any questions before going to one more part that is not going to be in depth right now because of the time, but it's going to be an approximation for what we're going to do in the next conversation. So do you have any questions? Let me know, please, or any comments.
The last word, borrower.
Yes.
The meaning of borrower is like a money lender.
One more time, please, Michaela.
Borrower, the meaning is like a money lender.
And it's the opposite. The money lender gives the money. The borrower receives the money. All right. So if you need money, you are a borrower. All right. And as a borrower,
Okay.
you need a money lender that is going to give you the money. All right.
Okay.
Good.
I
There you go.
understand. Thank you.
Great. So that's why, right? And it comes from the verb, right? To borrow is to ask for money. Someone else gives you the money if you borrow the money, right? That's why you are a borrower. To lend is to give something to someone that is asking for that. So if you're a lender, right, it means that you give that object, and in this case, it is going to be money. All right. So let's complement this one, please, with the next part. I know we don't have the time. We're not going to see this in detail. We're going to see in detail in the next conversation, but let this be the introduction, please, Michaela. Okay, I'm going to play it only once. Try to get as much as you can, and you're going to explain what you got. Okay, let's listen please to this part.
This arrangement can trap a small-scale entrepreneur in a cycle of debt from which it is impossible to escape. An initiative pioneered in Bangladesh in 1983 by the Grameen Bank is an attempt to remedy this situation. The goal of this initiative was to help poor people escape from poverty by allowing them to borrow small amounts of money at reasonable interest rates without the necessity of providing collateral.
Okay, so that's it. What can you tell me about this second part, Michaela?
Well, um, the video is talking about like a look to those small entrepreneurs because of the situation So they try to make a solution, give them money with I think is low interest.
That's correct. And also the solution is to work with official lenders, in this case, a bank, right? So having a bank that is going to give you, that is going to lend you small amounts of money, and that there's not going to be collateral. What is the meaning of collateral? It means that there is not going to be like a negative consequence if you don't return the money up to this date. Okay, we are not going to take your house, we are not going to take your business. There's not going to be collateral. All right, it's just helping people to get out from poverty, because they are going to help them by give them some capital in order for them to start their own businesses, right? And we're talking about, again, small scale entrepreneurs. Okay, small scale is one adjective. It means that it works in a small scale, right? And those are entrepreneurs looking, again, to do something that is small in their region, in their location, but it's going to help them, right, live better. Okay, so good. And what you say is great. A loop or a circle, that is circle of debt, right? It means you have to borrow money, you keep borrowing money, and you keep asking for that until you are trapped, right, in that circle, and you cannot get out of it. All right. So let me know, please, if you have any questions. Again, the words for the second part are going to be seen in detail in our next conversation, but I want to know if the overall idea plus the words at the beginning are clear, Michaela. Let me know, please. Or if you have any comments on this.
I only have one question. uh, what's the difference between small scale entrepreneurs and micro entrepreneurs? Because I think in Spanish it's the same.
Here, actually, you don't call them like micro entrepreneurs. Here, you call these, for example, micro enterprises, right? And a micro enterprise is going to be like a small business that is going to be started by a small scale entrepreneur, right? So you only actually call them entrepreneurs, and they can be like large scale entrepreneurs. Large scale ones are going to be the ones, right, starting very big businesses, and small scale entrepreneurs that are going to start micro enterprises. Okay, so you can say that large scale entrepreneurs start macro enterprises, and small scale entrepreneurs start micro enterprises. Okay, between the macro and the micro, that's going to be the difference. One is large scale and the other one is small scale. Okay, so it's about only terminology, but it's the same. All right.
Okay.
Good, very
Okay.
good. So that's it then
Thank you,
on my
teacher.
side. If you are going to have more questions, we are going to see them on. Remember, our conversation is not going to take place this Thursday. It is going to be next Tuesday directly. And we have 3 conversations in a row, right? It's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday again. All right. So next week we have 3 conversations, and on Tuesday, sorry, we are going to finish with this one. We're going to take a look at some extra words, and we're going to work on a different document. All right?
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Good. I don't know if you were able to fill out the survey, Michaela. Let me know, please.
Yeah, yes, I did it.
Good. So thanks for being here. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow for the class.
See you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night. All right, now I'm with you, Lucia. Sorry for the lateness, and thanks for waiting. I don't know if you have, well, actually, we're going to keep working, right, with your document. If you have something to work on, let me know, please. What would you like to do or work on today, Lucia?
Okay, teacher. Good evening. No, just I don't know. Maybe I don't know if we can see like global structures or more tips to writing essays. No more, or is it
Yes,
just because
of course.
we couldn't read a full essay, but maybe I used the last tips that you gave me to support something. But if you have like maybe more generous, like the last time, it would be really useful.
Of course, yes. Let's do it then. I have something interesting. We're going to try to use it now, and it's related to this. Give me a second. First of all, the TOEFL. I'm going to show you if there is the let's say, yes, the template. I'm going to show you. So these are ideas, for example, what we are, because they are preparing also the let's say the professors, the teachers for the TOEFL, because you know that the executive English is focused on the TOEFL, right? Yeah. And they give us, for example, ideas like this. This is an idea of a template to work for, and the writing task number 2. Okay, and they always give us like templates, because templates are always a good thing for writing. Why? Because you know that you have the overall idea, the skeleton, and you only need to complement your ideas in between those words. Right? For example, when you need to compare reading with something, you use interesting words like these words. Right? The reading extract leads off with, nonetheless, in the lecture, it is said that, firstly, in the reading passage, it's claimed, right? Passive voice. Using passive voice is always interesting for formal ways of writing. Okay, so always use, again, words that are going to help you organize your ideas, and that is going to structure everything. Okay, so I'm just showing you this one to show you that first. Okay, always try to have a skeleton of everything you want to do in your essay. And afterwards, little by little, you're going to be completing with extra words. That is going to be the main content. All right. But if you have that one, again, you're going to be able to produce this. For example, this is a result of using those words. And of course, as you can see, this is helping organizing all the ideas. And in between those ideas, we are just complementing everything that we need. All right, and again, it's always a good idea to use colors. In this case, it's just highlighting the connectors. But if you do that, you're going to be on a better track. All right, that's the first one. Let me.
Professor, it's good to use. Yeah, I used to use firstly, secondly, and can I use also thirdly, fourthly?
It is possible. It is possible. It is very weird to see a list just like that, right? Firstly, secondly, thirdly. It is correct. In English, it's correct, right? Differently from Spanish. In Spanish, you don't say that, but in English, you do. So if you have a large list, it is possible. It's not as common. It's very common to actually have the first 3 like that. Okay, firstly, secondly, and thirdly. You have fourthly, but the actually is not going to be something that I've seen before. It's avoided. So after the first 3 elements, you can complement just with words like besides or on the other hand, because it's very weird that you're just going to keep adding information to one point. So very likely what is going to happen is that you have firstly, secondly, thirdly maximum, but then you go to a different point and you say on the other hand, however, nonetheless, and you start one more time numbering those things. All right, so you have to play with that. It is possible, but it's very weird for that to happen.
I have an example. For example, I organize my text. It's like the tell about the career plan, and I put I'm gonna like achieve my goal or my main dream in 4 steps. So and I divide like for each step in 1 paragraph. So I put in the like the connectors of the beginning of each paragraph, like firstly, secondly, thirdly, or fourthly. I don't know if it's good, or instead of fourthly, which word or connector you recommend me to use in that case. For example, that I have like steps to mention, or directly put in like my 4th step is better.
Yes, to play with the words, it is always a good idea to do that. For example, right, you can start with firstly, then instead of secondly, you can say directly as a second point, or continuing right with the next step, and you have that. Or even you can use words as I'm going to show you now. It is called the referencing transition words. Okay, in referencing transition words that I'm going to show you now, you can use any type of phrase as this, the fourth step, for example, and it's over here. And it's a word like regarding. Okay, so you can say regarding the fourth step, it means that you previously mentioned that you have 4 steps. Now you are only, this is the one, okay? These are words that you can use. And it's good because it gives variation to your ideas. Okay, so you can say, considering the second step, concerning the second step, regarding the second step, as for the second step, with regards to the second step, on the subject of the second step, looking at the second step. All right, so you have all those variations. And again, it's a good idea because it gives variety to your writing, and it helps you again get out from that just robotic way of using those words. So this is my advice. All right, try to use these referencing words, or try always to connect that in a different way with next to that or afterwards. But using this, I think it's a good solution in your case, Lucia. All right, all these words actually are good. All right, one more time: considering, concerning, regarding, as for, with regards to, on the subject of.
And Professor, could you share me? Is there any possibility that you can share me this?
Yes. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm going to send this to you. Here you have, of course, well, you're going to get it. Not all these words follow this same formula. Okay, here you have a formula to use these words. Some of them are exceptions, but if you see a phrase, for example, here you have to be careful. Try to verify that on your own, but if you have any questions that I can help you with, I'm going to do it. All right, but don't worry, I'm going to send this to you.
Thank you so much.
All right, here you have a lot of those transitional words that you can use for adding information, highlighting, referencing, showing similarity, clarifying, for contrasting, distinguishing, conceding, dismissing an argument, right? And here actually it's the sequential words. All right, initially, firstly, secondly, thirdly, right? Or you can say first of all to start with, in the second place, or actually this is also an alternative, right? In the third place, in the fourth place, and you keep working on that. All right. And again, as I told you, right, eventually, next, after, and so on and so forth. All right. You have always variations, and that's what you can do. All right.
And those are the same like connectors that we ordinarily called, yeah, kind
Yes,
of.
these are connectors, but you have many different types of connectors, right? Some connectors are just connecting to dependent and independent ideas. This, what we call here transitional words or phrases, are connectors that can connect bigger ideas or can connect paragraphs. All right, but some connectors only connect 2 sentences, for example.
All right.
All right, good.
Thank you so much.
So again, I'm going to send that to you. I'm just going to see, for example, this is another, well, I'm going to keep you with some ideas with colors. Right here you have the same. First, you can add an example with as a matter of fact. You can talk about an experience or trying to cite something with according to something. You give more explanation with on the top of that. You exemplify that one, right? Exemplifying that. Then you give one more time personal experience. Never was I more surprised. Okay, flabbergasted is like surprised. Then for reason, right? So playing with the words, trying to show the exact information with different words is always the best thing that you can do, Lucia, because there is always a part in your essay in which you have to show examples, but there is always a different way to show those examples. All right, so here again, this is just an idea for how you can get first the skeleton of your essay, and then you can complement your ideas by writing everything that you have to write over there. And here again, this is a result of using that. All right, here again, here we have some details to correct, but the idea is that you have something more structured, that you have colors to identify what you're talking about, the main topic, and the organizing of your idea. All right, and I'm going to complement this with something that I think I showed you before. I sent it to you, but I'm going to show you this one more time, and is this template, right? I don't know if you remember this one, but this is what I was telling you about in our conversation. And this is how you should be working on your essay, with colors like this, because you can recognize that you're following a structure and you're not just changing everything from the first paragraph to the second paragraph, and there is not a thing to reference back. All right, so again, if you remember, the green color in this type of essay, that is the argumentative essay, is not entirely your essay, but you can use this structure if you want up to a certain point. Remember, the first part is referred to the hook, right? A very interesting idea about your topic. For example, if you're going to talk about networking, you can say something interesting that catches your reader's attention about networking and how important it is nowadays, right? Then you have another color to show the background, right? Everything that you believe is good to know, but very shortly, because it's the introduction about networking, right? And even you can talk about the definition, because even though it's English, you can try to assure that your reader understands what you mean by networking. And you can say here one definition, or you can give again historical context, social context, when was the first time when it started to be important, right? Or in a global scale, etc. Then you
And
have, yeah,
sorry, for example, for the green line could be like yeah, instead of a definition, could be like my own definition to do something more personal.
if yes, if that's going to help the reader understand the meaning of your essay, it can be possible. Of course, if you don't distort the definition in a way that it's going to make it harder to understand that, I know you're not going to do it, but I'm giving you an example. It is possible, okay? As long as you're following like a line of sight, as long as you're working with knowledge from behind what you're saying, it can be possible to use your own definition, all right?
All right.
And good. And the last one, remember, it's going to be the most important part, at least in this type of essay, that is the thesis statement, right? And remember that the thesis statement is an idea that you have related to that topic. So once again, if you're talking about networking, what is something that you think about networking that you need to convince the reader about during your essay? If you believe that networking is a very important skill that has to be developed by people and it has to be integrated into the school teaching, I don't know, right? I'm making that up. Then that's going to be your thesis statement, right? To me, it's very important that a leader can develop networking, because it is actually the main skill or the main feature that will that person, right, better than others. Okay, that can be your thesis statement, believing that this is the quality that makes that person better than other professionals. All right, and that being your thesis statement, again, the body paragraphs are just to verify that and for you to prove that that is true. And one more time, this is only going to be for one body paragraph, but it applies to all of them. You need a topic sentence. It means what you're going to talk about in this specific paragraph. Are you going to talk about the benefits of networking? Then that's going to be your first paragraph. Right, so you can say, to commence, it is important to know all the benefits that networking has. Then the second step, as I told you, is optional. You can give more information about the idea of the benefits, but I think to say benefits is clear, so you don't need to say something extra, but it's up to you. Then remember that you need to show evidence, right? You told me that in your case, you're working with a kind of personal essay that is also argumentative. So this part can be a little bit more personal. And instead of using citations like here, look, the idea is use a citation with quotation marks. Instead of that, you can talk about experience that you know about, or experience that you had, or someone that you trust, all right? And again, a personal experience or something more formal, it's up to you. But you introduce the experience by saying, according to this person, according to that institute, or according to me, or you give the experience, you tell the experience. And remember, the green one, okay, is telling the experience. Here, you say something yourself, or you use someone else's words. And after that, you have to paraphrase that to create a connection with your main idea. All right, so if you are using citation, you have to say something like, in other words, right, what I try to show here is that it is really important, or that this benefit remarks this or that. All right, so you need to make the reader understand why this experience was worth mentioning. And at the end, as I told you, every paragraph, every body paragraph is going to have its own conclusion. But remember, it's not a big conclusion. It's just a closing for your paragraph. Okay, so you say something like, all in all, or briefly, we can see that there are many benefits for networking, and it indeed should be taken into account. All right, so that's a short way to finish your paragraph. Then you go to the second, and the second is the same, and the third is going to be the same. The only thing that is going to change, of course, it's everything, because you have a different topic sentence, and you're going to have a different citation, a different author, or a different experience that can complement the previous one if you want, or can be the opposite if you want to contrast. And you also have the interpretation and the conclusion. And the general conclusion is, again, three parts, right? You restate your thesis statement, right? So you say one more time what you said in the last part of your conclusion, or sorry, of your introduction, right? So you one more time need to say that a very important feature or characteristic of a leader, or I don't know, right? Anybody, is networking. But you have to say that in other words. Then you give a short summary of the topic sentences that you mentioned. Okay, that's the second step. All right, so you have to summarize, but only the topic sentences. So you say, plus, we were able to see that there are many benefits of networking. And imagine that in the second part, you mentioned, I don't know, right? The results of a study that shows, again, networking has a good characteristic. And we got to see the results of a very interesting study that confirms that networking is indeed very important. All right, so that's the summary of your topic sentences. And one more time, in the last part is like reflection, right? So why it was important to talk about it, or why, or sorry, what is going to be the next essay about, or what should people question or wonder about to continue our understanding on this topic, which is going to be networking, or simply answering these questions here. What other essays can be written by following this one? What research could be done related to these results? What is next? All right, or simply a reflection that you have in mind, Lucia, that is a production of everything that you wrote. All right, and again, that's the structure. If you follow that one, it's very good, because you know, again, where you are, and you know what you need in case you don't know what else to say. And again, if you have colors, you're going to be able to recognize what steps you need to follow and what steps are missing in order for you to have a complete and very organized and very balanced essay. Okay, sometimes that's very important. The first paragraph has a lot of attention, then the second paragraph not a lot, and the third one less. So there is like not a balance. Okay, but again, by using colors and by using these details, you're going to assure that you are going to be working with a good balance, and you have all the steps you need in every step. Okay, so that's my recommendation. That's what I can show you. Lucia, I don't know if you have comments or questions.
Just one question, Professor. In the body paragraphs, the green and the blue like ideas are, you said that the green are like citations or experiences that I can put, and the blue highlighted could be like more like examples, or to justify that idea, right? Something like that.
Yes, close to that one. More than it can be an example, actually, if it helps like explaining the citation. But in other words, the blue one is paraphrasing and explaining the reader why you showed that citation, or simply explaining that in your own words. All right, so of course, if it's going to be a citation and the person is using interesting but difficult words, in the blue step, you can explain those words differently. You can do it in a simpler way. And as you said, you can show an example if it helps understanding the citation better. Okay, anything that clarifies the citation and says that in other words, it's going to be good in the blue step.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Now it's clear. I can say that now I have like the first version, but yeah, indeed I have the ideas, but now it will be great if I can organize with this system or with this technique, and it will be more clear, I think, for the people that are going to read it.
Great, that's great. And also remember that this is for argumentative essay. Yours is a little bit different. So you can have a mixture, right, between this structure and what you feel that it's going to work in your case. As you can see here, this is very formal because this is made to work with citations. But again, one more time, as I said before, this is going to be in your case more like showing experiences and to make it more personal. So because of that, of course, this can change. But the idea of showing you this also is that you can follow this, that it's a great idea. But even though you have a different structure, always try to work in a very organized way like this. Because again, if you work like this, it's going to be easier to make changes. It's going to be easier to recognize what one paragraph is missing. Or again, if everything is well balanced, then you can continue working, or you know if your essay is done. All right. So again, I don't have like a structure for the specific type of essay that you're telling me, because that's very personal. I mean, it's a personal essay that you structure in the way that you want, but this can help again with that idea. All
Yeah,
right. I don't have any
perfect.
other questions or comments.
You know, it's perfect, Professor. Really, really, thank you. And nothing. If you can share me again all the material, I really appreciate that. Please.
Yes, of course. I'm going to send you this, all right, this element over here with the colors and everything. And I'm also going to send you this presentation with the transitional words and phrases. All right.
Yeah.
The other ones are very like drawy and they are not ready perhaps, but they are not, everything that you see here, as I showed you here, is better and well organized in this one.
It's better. Okay, it's perfect.
Good, very good. So let's do it in that way, please. Lucia, let's finish here. I'm going to send you now, right now, as we finish the two documents, and you're going to let me know again if you have any other questions. Remember that this Thursday we don't have any conversation or any practice, but next week we have 3 conversations in a row, right? That is going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, the replacement for this Thursday, and also Thursday. So we can take advantage. If you want, we can keep working on this one, or you can show me what you did by using this information, or we can take a look at that. All
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Good,
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
So as always, please, over there, I believe that you were able to answer to
Yes,
the survey.
I already finished.
Good. So that's it, Lucia. Thanks for being here. Have a good night, and I'll send you the information right now.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your time.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.